Seattle has an occupational protest going on. People say that it's about the George Floyd protest, but really, it has more to do with a thing that's going on in Seattle for a while now. The recognized bird of Seattle isn't the goldfinch. It's not the seahawk. It's the crane. It's been like this ever since I've moved into the Northwest, which is several decades. But with Amazon moving in, there has been a lot of high-level, high-rent areas moving in, which meant low-rent areas have been moving out or been bulldozed. Many beloved organizations, both non-government organization and bars and movies and book places, have all kind of gone away because their buildings were destroyed. This has included things like homeless shelters and low-income housing. Because of this, there is a very large homeless problem. Add the tension of COVID, and you are expecting a riot or some kind of protest at any time. The original protests led to destruction and clashes with the police. The police tried to be peaceful, firing mostly tear gas and other items to thwart the people attacking. However, it continued to happen. Because local businesses were getting angry at all the riots, the Black Lives Matter and Antifa people decided to try something else, an occupied protest. This means they chose out an area and declared it theirs. They took over the police station and boarded it up. They made sure that no police or government official could enter. This was their area. They created essentially their own ghetto. An occupational protest works because they get to control the narrative in the area coming in and going out. Because of this, they have to be organized in a way that means a siege-prepared castle on one side and a giant convention ready to go on the next side. This creates a question about which one is real. Is it the world of Andy and Go, where people are armed and ready to go, ready to destroy and ready to attack? Who do these un-American punks think they are? Or is it the Chaz Chop hashtag? Is it the peaceful people? Is it people just walking around? Is it supporting Seattle? Aren't we supposed to be supporting artists and the people who are truly showing that they don't want to be held down by the man? The answer is, of course, it's both. It's just being run by different factions over what's happening. There's the artist side that's showing their artistic ideas. Now, the truth be told, many of these artists will probably leave if anything happens. If they see guns or anything like that, they leave. However, many of these people are there to help and are trying to do their best they can. I have friends who are trying to provide food there, who are trying to support people as best they can, and show support in every way that they can possibly do. Then we have the loyalists, people who see the movement as very important and want their message to be heard as best they can. They're looking for purity in the message and want to control the narrative as best they can. So, when you see them, they will act differently and do things differently from the artists. Then we have the ghettoists, people who are accustomed to a ghetto where they rule. Therefore, might makes right. They're armed and they're ready to defend themselves. If you are on one side, say the artists or the partiers, you probably won't notice the ghettoists or the loyalists. However, you'll notice that they exist. You won't be part of that crowd. It's like any other city. You go into an area and only know the people in that area. If you go outside of it, well, things are a little different. Occupational protests are actually very common and can come into our range, where the Battle of Fallujah is a 10 and Occupy Wall Street as a 1. By looking at these different protests and these different occupations, we can actually see patterns and find out ideas. For example, much of what you're seeing must be controlled. It has a narrative control. They try to make sure that only the shots are taken in angles and ways that the people in charge would like. That's why you're seeing photos and images saying you can only take pictures like this. Yeah, that does sound like North Korea, I know. For example, the best footage I ever got of Occupy Wall Street was from Conan O'Brien's comedy sketch on the movement. It was a lot looser with the editing. It showed shots that other people couldn't see, like that food tent off in the background, and other ideas to help us understand what was happening and why. Most people come and then leave just as quickly. To make it look like there were people there all the time, they took all the homeless people of Seattle and moved them to the CHOP. That absolutely awful garden that they're trying to make is actually from an episode of Star Trek The Next Generation, where Picard lives a life of someone else. I'm not going to get into the entire story, but basically, the people are dying, and they plant a tree to show that they're going to try to continue on. They add water to it to show hope, and hope that they will somehow have something about them survive, which is very, kind and noble when you think about it. This also lets us know what's going to happen at the end of this occupation. Either the police will come and beat the protesters, causing a scene. This is what Black Lives Matter and Antifa want. It makes them look good by getting beat up.
Hey, shut up! Will you shut up? Now we see the violence inherent in the system. Shut up! Come and see the violence inherent in the system! Help! Help! I'm being repressed! Bloody peasant! Oh, what a giveaway. Did you hear that? Did you hear that, eh? That's what I'm on about. Do you see him repressing me?
The other option is they will end by factionalism, breaking apart and fighting each other, as the more artistic and partygoers leave. This would end up like Occupation Wall Street or the Red Guard Wars in China. Either way, it keeps the violence to a minimal, in one area, easy to control and easy to keep out of. Thus, most people are safe. Because of this, I tend to support the CHOP. It keeps people safe, we get a bunch of art, and we get to observe everything without having as many people in the line of fire.